Hey, all y'all, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm excited for you to meet an amazing individual tonight and get the chance to learn from her and her experiences and to be able to give perspective, hopefully, on what the possibilities might be for you and your family. So I met Anna years ago. I can't remember how long it's been now. And just her story is unbelievable. But what it reminds me a lot of what we all go through. Like a mom is somebody to me that has multiple doctorate degrees because no matter what's going on with them or their children, if you want something done, you go to the mom. And they're also some of the most cautious and fearless people at the same time. And so, Anna, thank you for taking the time to do this with me and to be able to kind of get perspective of what your story has been like for you and your family. And then we'll just spend a little time also talking through maybe why that is and what we've seen and what maybe the possibility would for others. And so, and I know you have how many children now?
I have six kids.
Six children, guys. Just a phenomenal
Four at
individual.
home.
Just four at home still. Whew,
Yes.
keeps you busy. So, and I know you've
Yes.
had your own health journey. And in the small community up in Northern Arizona. I'd love for people to kind of hear a little bit what your health journey has been like for you personally.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. That was very kind of you. And we're grateful for doctors who also help our children as well. So thank you. Um, well, my health journey started, of course, when we were born, right? All of us. And I still don't know exactly why, but for some reason my muscles and bones weren't growing together correctly. And I know you probably know the terms for that, and I could look them up again, but that's what I understood. And the doctors at that time, and my mom did the best she can, and I'm still grateful for what she did. They gave her the choice to put me in leg braces, like Forrest Gump, or the way my legs would grow, I would be in a wheelchair by the time I was full grown. So about 16 is what they were saying. So she made the choice. And she also knew the side effects of that they told her is I'd be having leg pains from the moment I basically put them on because it's stretching them and, making them be in ways they shouldn't be. So about the age of 2, I just remember chronic pain. And so, I wore those 24/7. And that's just what I grew up with. I finally got them off as, about 5 years later. I wore them for 5 years straight. And when I got them off, I just knew there was pain in my life, and that's what I was used to. And as I got into my 20s, that was scary. I just remember being a teacher, and I just graduated from ASU, and I remember getting on the floor. I was only 21 years old, and I couldn't get up off the floor, and that scared me so badly. And the pain was just that bad. And I started physical therapy, and in high school, I wasn't able. I'd start the track team. I was active. I loved being active, but that pounding just hurt my joints, and for basketball, so I just kind of started off broken. And I stayed happy and had a family, got married and had children. And for some reason God had a plan for us. One after the other was born with a neurodegenerative disease that caused lots of side effects, and it's a whole bucket list. Their muscles and their brains weren't connecting. Our family, I don't know if it's appropriate to say, but we made function out of dysfunction. That's kind of what it was like every day for us. And my kids like to joke about that, but that's what it is. And, I had to start lifting my kids on and off the toilet as I was potty training these giant, big children. Normally we're doing that with little babies and toddlers, and just lifting my children as they were becoming preteens and just kids bigger than they should be. So my shoulders, along with my other joints, were starting to become trashed. And I just was in a lot of pain, was on prescription strength drugs 3 times a day and cortisone shots every 3 months. And I knew, and I had my aunt who would tell me that all those pharmaceutical drugs, because she worked at a pharmacy, were going to cause lots of problems for me. But I'm like, I don't care if I'm 60 and broken and dead by that point with all the side effects. I had to be a good mom now. So that's kind of where I was at. And we were getting our third wheelchair. And for my third child, I was getting diagnosed with what some people, cerebral palsy is one of the terms to help you understand. We were going from wheelchairs with gait trainers, GAIT, forming the gait, like walkers, crutches, forearm crutches, trying different ways to get my kids upright, and it just wasn't working. And it was tough. So that's kind of where we were at. And I was struggling and praying, and people are praying for differences in their lives. And I just remember, and I'm looking out my window right now at my property. I've planted lots of trees, and we built this home, and our dreams were coming forward. But I just remember standing at the top of my loft overlooking my home and just in tears, because I had everything I wanted. I had this beautiful family that I loved, but they were all broken like I was, and we were all in pain, had everything we wanted, this home, but your health is important. You can have all you want, but if you don't have your health, it's not happy, right?
What changed? Like, so I know now what I love about you is what you said, like, I have to be a mom now. Right?
Hmm.
I'm not sure care about the consequences. Like, I got to do what I got to do to function now. And I think a lot of people really relate to that. And like, how many times have you just because you had to do what you had to do, right, to function, and just at your point, like have your kids just be able to go to the bathroom with a chore. So, what changed? Who introduced you to activation, and what did you notice personally in yourself?
Okay. I feel like lots of people during all this time, it's funny how many times I recognize people bringing something forward because the medical world gave up on us. And doctors directly said those words to me. They're like, we don't know what to do anymore. Um, they kind of gave my kids a lifespan of puberty, not thinking we'd make it past that. And so I had people come out of the woodworks constantly bringing me, try this, try this, dandelion roots, all these things. They would have me do all these things. And I was having my kids suck on peach leaves, trying all these different things. But at the same time, my husband and I kind of started to mock it because we didn't have guidance. We didn't know what to do. We were, so we kind of put that aside and just everything just kind of gave up on us. But we were still trying to be active, like you said. We were trying to do all the things and give our kids the memories. And it happened to be 8 years ago, 9 years ago. It's how long it's been. It's crazy. So I've been on this journey trying to understand. I remember one of our neurologists that lovingly gave up on us. He still loved our family, but he just said, if you can find something with enzymes, something to pad those cells, like he just started saying these things. And I'm like, I don't even know what an enzyme is. Like, and so my ears kind of started listening. And we were in Oceanside specifically. I remember we were on the beach, and at this beach, now I've learned in Hawaii, they have ramps to the beach, but they didn't have ramps. And it was a lot of work trying to get our kids on the sand and trying to give our kids these beautiful memories. And we were exhausted. It was 11 o'clock at night. Kids were in bed. And I feel bad. I don't remember the exact situation. I just remember the ABC News report came on. Whether somebody turned it on in the resort room, we were with friends. So I'm thinking that could have happened. Either way, the TV was on. ABC News report came on. And my husband, I was kind of not listening, but my husband heard, the words arthritis, asthma, depression. He heard these words and he ordered it from me, which is a mother, that's not what I was interested in. I wanted to help my kids, fix my kids. I was kind of mad at him. And I hate saying that because I was the worst customer at first, or worst patient, or worst client, whatever you want to call it. I was tired of sucking on peach leaves. I was not interested in trying anything else. I called it the hope roller coaster. Someone would bring something to me. It was worse getting hope and not having it work. I'd rather just stay broken instead of have the hope. And so to me, that was another thing of that. And we were also teachers. So I already had my summer money budgeted and I was not going to spend it on myself. But my husband was listening and he was paying attention, and I didn't realize our prayers were being answered, I guess, and he was paying attention. So he ordered NRF2 is where we started, and that was kind of our beginning. And he ordered it, and I was still not, I wasn't mean, but I wasn't happily taking it. And I remember he'd open it up, put it on the counter, say happy wife, happy life, and he'd walk away. And so I finally was really focusing on that. But I look back at that summer and I had started getting up early. I was riding my bike to the track because I wanted to get in shape. And I guess when you start to feel better, you start to do the things you want to do without even noticing. And I started riding my bike miles to the track at the high school, and I started running the track. And my husband actually was shocked, but that's not what I was looking for. I wanted all the pain to go away, but I wasn't recognizing the energy was coming first. And then it was October. So I started taking it in May, right as school was out. It was October when I remember our neurologist at St. Joseph's Hospital called me and he said, I would love to do a marathon and I would love for you to do it with me. We can push your kids in wheelchairs. And the fact that I was able to say yes and train for this meant I was healthier than I was in high school. It was amazing. I started running 9 miles every day and trained for a marathon that I felt great after, and I felt good. And so to me, that was a huge change. That's when I realized I started to feel better. The prescription strength drugs went away. And I remember in October specifically, when they called me to set up my cortisone shots, which at this point insurance wasn't paying for them anymore. It was $300 a shot, but it was, like I said, you do what you can as a mom. So I was getting them all my joints and I was able to say no. And that's been over 8 years ago. that I've learned that I can activate my body, that our bodies are meant to heal. And it doesn't mean, my husband reminds me I'm not a superhero. After I go whitewater rafting, my shoulders are still going to hurt. I have to, but they come back. In the past, that would have been years of healing. Where my journey started. And then it goes into my children, obviously. That's where I went immediately when I started to realize what it was.
Experience. I think this is true with a lot of people is sometimes we begrudgingly start something, right? But I love the reality of what you said of that hope roller coaster. I always say the most expensive supplement is the one that doesn't work, and most expensive emotionally. And so because you tried so many different things, and the fact is, what you noticed first is what you didn't notice.
Right.
Like, you're just like, I started running a little more, and I started doing something. I wanted the pain to go away. Like the energy was coming because the pain was less. You couldn't feel it.
Right.
Like
right.
your body was starting to do things it wasn't able to do and recover faster. And it took some time for your body to start going through that process. And it gave you an ability to do things that you weren't doing. And I love the fact that Lauren saw that, right?
Yes.
Was brave enough to say, happy life, happy wife, happy life, right? But he also, that there's something about it but also you stuck with it, to where you started activating your body differently, to where the body didn't no longer needed the medication to block the pain because it was repairing it at a different rate than it was before. And this is something that's been going on since you were basically 2 years old, right? And I'm guessing you were probably in your late 20s at that time, I give or take, probably when you started taking it, right?
Very kind.
What's that?
You're very kind. 30s.
Yes. So it'd been a few decades, right? From the process that was going on in your body didn't magically go away. Hello there.
This is Charlotte.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
So
Sorry.
this is a family process, and so we're good.
Okay.
Has a tongue here.
Okay.
Let's see.
Down at the barn, honey. We're supposed to go down there. It's okay. I'm so sorry.
That's
But
good.
the fact that she was able just to walk in, to me, that's huge.
So
That's my
maybe
oldest.
let's
She's
transition that point real quick, because I think that's true. Because I remember when I first met you a little bit and just kind of heard your story individually about what you're doing. And we'll kind of go back through, you guys, and I'll kind of walk through the why we're seeing this and what the possibilities could be, because that hope roller coaster is real, right? But why don't you kind of let's talk about her specifically, and and also I think that conversation you had where you wanted to know, is it okay for you to give what you were feeling better on to your children, right? That rule of medicine is first do no harm. And as a mom, that's exactly true. Like, do no harm. Kind of take us through that process, and maybe with her, where she was prior to activation, and why that little thing, just like her coming in and having that conversation, is powerful.
Yes. Okay. So this is crazy. She's 19 now. So she was about 11 years old. And I just remember, we had like I said, we had 2 wheelchairs, and we were getting our 3rd wheelchair for my little boy. And I just was refusing to do it and was really upset. So there has to be something else, because I don't have a 3rd arm. I don't know how I'm going to push 3 wheelchairs. And in fact, at that marathon when I was running, and it's a sad, horrible story, but I only had 2 wheelchairs and I only had 2 arms, and I had on top of my other one. So I was pushing 3 kids that needed wheelchairs with 2 wheelchairs, and I hit a crack and we all went over. And I just remember I was trying to hurry to get to a marathon. And that's the reality of when you're trying to help kids and people that aren't mobile, and you're one person. And that's the kind of the life we were going into. So I was trying to get desperate. I couldn't get that 3rd wheelchair. I didn't want my kids to be injured because I couldn't keep up. So I'm trying to think how to start that is, so we were actually, so this is the sad part, is this was a year of me, but like you said, you want it to be safe for your kids. So I know I had to go through this process, because I would have not put my kids on it right away. Because in my mind, I was so medicine minded. I just was worried about overdosing. I mean, my kids were on 7+ drugs each. They had just barely put my 6-year-old Caroline on a depression drug, which makes me really sad to put her on an antidepressant, because she was sleepwalking at night, but she could not walk. So she would get out of bed to sleepwalk, and she would fall and hit her head. And so they were putting on her antidepressant to keep her in bed. I mean, just nonstop medicine for just things that there were other ways to fix it. But in the world I was in, I'm like, oh, that's what we're supposed to do. So I put them on another medicine with more side effects. So I was really starting to get just really frantic as a mom. And I was I took all three of my kids because we do it at once for their surgeries. They were on regular surgeries, like doctor's appointments, which is really sad to think that, but they're having to tighten their eye muscles, getting tubes in their ears constantly. There was all these regular surgeries we were doing to keep them up, and or to just keep them alive, I guess, or doing, paying attention. I don't know. I don't even know words to use for that. So we took them to our ear, nose, and throat doctor.
Being able to function, right? So for most
Right,
people,
function at all.
you don't think about how easy it is to get up and walk, or to listen, or to hear, or to stand, or think, or get on off the toilet, right? Whereas you're having to do modifications to everything you did, from wheelchairs to getting them off the toilet, because their body was not coordinating or communicating or growing at the rate normally. So you're having to use surgery, right, to offset that.
Yeah, just even tightening their muscles in their eyes so they could see forward, so they could even try to balance, so they could even stay on the toilet and not fall off, like all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting the middle ear all the time taken care of, because I could tell when their equilibrium was off that we needed to go put tubes and fix all that again. So that's where we were at again. And I went to our ear, nose, and throat doctor. And what I really love about this doctor, and a lot of people might know him, Dr. Cox, but he's retired now. He really cared about the mothers, kind of like you do. They care about the person taking care of their patients. And that, I always remember, that meant a lot to me. And he's always making sure I drink enough water, would tell me to go do this. And when I walked in this time, I remember his eyes just kind of lit up, and he's like, wow, you look great. I've never seen you this vibrant or happy. And I mean, I wasn't a bad, mad person walking around, but people can see people's eyes, the droopiness, whatever else. And I just remember he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, I ran a marathon, and I had some pride to that too. I was proud, just doing things. And then somehow we got in the conversation of Protandim. I said, well, I'm taking Protandim. And he lit up with that one too. And I just remember being kind of surprised, because I hadn't talked about it a lot. And he knew exactly what that was. He goes, oh, I love that. And I have my wife on it, and I get as many people as I can on. I thought that was interesting. And then the subject ended, and then we got to my kids, and they were doing the list of everything of what medications my kids are on. And I didn't say they were on Protandim, because they weren't. That wasn't one on the list. And I just remember he looked at me very directly and just said, why are your kids not on Protandim? And I just answered, they don't have arthritis, because I still was in that idea of this medicine fixes this, and that's what it fixed on me. That's what I felt like. I felt better. And I don't know if I'm supposed to use that word, but my joints quit hurting. And that was my answer to him.
Yeah, it's huge, because humans, right? We're kind of in the model we live under. We think we have this condition and we use this to treat it. Well, the reality is, like, if you think about bills, you get bills from a power company, you get bills from the sewage treatment plant, you get bills from everywhere, but you pay them with the same money you make anywhere else. And so when it comes to what's going on inside your body, it's just what system is breaking down as to what symptom we have, or what tissue breaks down, that we give it a name. And then medicine had a name that you give this medication or this surgery to treat it. But I love the fact that Doc asked that question. What a brilliant question. Hey, because most of us aren't trained to think that way, but hey, why aren't your kids taking this? So I know that was a kind of an eye opener for you. But so so tell me where that led you to, as far as then with your children, and especially, one that just came in, and what you've seen happen with her.
Yeah, so this is where it was really interesting. He said, well, I'm going to give you some homework, because of course doctors don't have time in the office in those little windows. This was a pre-op for a surgery, and for all three of my kids. So we're trying to get through all the paperwork, and he's kind. And he said, well, I'm going to give you some homework. I'm going to have you go look at PubMed.gov. And this is the first time I've ever heard of that site, which is published medical journals. And I've learned now that it's actually a worldwide site. I've learned that the last few years. When I was able to teach in Germany, now nutrigenomics, they all knew that site over there, the doctors. So that was pretty cool. But this is like, it was a huge turning point when he said that, why are your kids not on it? So he sent me home to look up PubMed.gov. And he specifically had me look up cerebral palsy and oxidative stress. So if that's something that you can do on your own research, and I know Dr. Brett is very familiar with this, but you can go on to PubMed.gov, put in oxidative stress, an ailment, a sickness, and see if those are connected. And I think with 300,000 studies of oxidative stress, that it's going to be connected. That's what I've learned. And just in the study, just in the saliva alone, my kids' oxidative stress was higher. And I thought that was interesting. And then I started to learn. Then I started my research. I just went on this, I don't know, a funnel, a ball that just kept rolling.
Oh, that's the mother PhD is what that is. I guess when mom, the person with a child, anybody that struggles, will out research anybody.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So that's kind of what I did. I learned what oxidative stress was. I learned that it could be lowered by 40%. And then for some reason at that time, I really loved that the FDA approved that. That was important to me because I needed research. I needed back data. But the funny part was looking at this 8 years later, I was still afraid to give it to my kids because I was still afraid of side effects. And I was trying to find, can it hurt them? Can I overdose them? It was said adult dose only on the bottle. And so all that just really panicked me. And so I really did my work to get to people to talk to. So that's where I worked through people, through LifeVantage, was able to get to the medical board, to Dr. Sveta. And that's where my journey continued. And she taught me, she just taught me so much. And I was so grateful to her, and still to this day, and just beyond grateful. She says all the time now that she saw my kids go from being a blob. She actually called Harrison a blob. And it's true. He was limp, laying in my arms, and I just said, help. He just laid there floppy. And so to see Charlotte walk in like she's doing, I don't even know where to go with that.
she walked in, right? Because
She
before
walked in, she was trying to help me with my little boy.
yeah.
And he's lost in the house somewhere. She was trying to find him. But the fact that before, I used to literally be able to prop my kids either in wheelchairs or along the wall, and they didn't move. And I knew right where they were at. So to have my 11-year-old lost and my 19-year-old running around looking for him, like, that's a dream come true. It gives me more work and I love it. But my kids are healthy. And at that time, I remember Dr. Cox at that time said, you know what, we're not going to schedule the surgery. I want you to put your kids on these products, and in October we'll reconvene. And my kids did not, their middle ear dried up, whatever you call it, the oxidative stress, because I did my research on that too. That middle ear is all oxidative stress. And so we have not had tubes for my children since then. And we were doing it at least once or twice a year.
How cool is it when a body can do what it's designed to do, it can do things that it's supposed to do, right? In your case, that wasn't happening both with yourself personally and them. So what has been the functional changes you've seen specifically in Charlotte over time?
Oh goodness, she's bossier because she can be now. So that's huge.
She can get up and move, right?
She can get up and move. She can take charge. I'm loving it. We have conflicts now because we have two things she wants to do next week. She has auditions for Northland Pioneer College for a play, which who knew my little girl in a wheelchair, fast forward, is gonna be able to do something like that. She's not star on the stage. But she's in my heart. But I mean, like, she's up on stage. She's been doing plays for the last 7 years and she loves it.
Which means she can talk, she can sing.
She's active. Her singing is fun, and I love it. It's cute because her muscles still can't connect to the brain. But it doesn't matter. The fact that she has conflicts, like when I say that, is she's like, do I do this or that? Like, she wants to go to BYU Education Week next week, but she has auditions. So her life is becoming normal. It's what she calls, yesterday, she's like, isn't that called typical? She told me that yesterday. And I just thought that was so funny that she's recognizing she's getting to live a typical life, and whatever that looks like for anybody. We all have our dysfunctions and what's typical, but she loves that conflict.
So, which is fun. It's fun that she can see this experience. So what products do you have them on?
Oh my goodness. So I started them. It's a journey. And that's one thing that I really had to figure out in my own head, especially as being teachers, as we don't have the best budget. We had to shift and recognize that our health is our best investment. And that's the first shift you have to do. Because we recognized, not, just with any product, anywhere, that it costs, buying the better fruit, it costs money to be healthy. Planting a garden.
Lot cheaper than a cortisone shot, though.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's where you have to shift. You have to recognize, okay, well, yes, this is expensive to invest in right now for whatever product we're getting, whether we get it from this company or this company, or we buy the better fruit. But having 3 children, not getting 3 surgeries a year each, that's a huge financial cut. That's health. That's good.
So what products do you have them on? I know the Protandim Nerve 2.
Right. So that's what I was going to start with, is we started low and slow. We started on the Nerve 2, Protandim, and the Axio together.
Mm-hmm.
And just on those 2 alone, that's where we saw drastic changes. Charlotte took longer, and I think it's because she was older. Caroline, she was in 1st grade at the time. We saw a difference within 10 days. And it was the teacher that pointed out the difference first. She called me, just totally excited about that.
What did they saw?
What did they see? Well, specifically, she was in a wheelchair a lot at that time. She had an Occam device, so she had to have a speaking device for her. But during all that, I knew my kids could think and that they had something in there. So we were working really hard on trying to get their high frequency words up. If you're a parent, there's 100 high frequency words they have to get. And I was trying to keep her out of self-contained. And they said, one of the ways to do that is we got to make sure she's reading. And so we were getting her past the Occam device. And I don't know if you know what that is. It's just a machine that speaks for you. But we were getting her past that and doing her spelling words on that. But she was only getting 10 words from kindergarten through most of first grade out of her 100. And the teacher was just panicking because the principal was on her and everybody was on her. And I was practicing flashcards as a teacher, doing everything I knew to do for my child as well. And I started on Protandim and Axial. And again, I didn't know what I was doing. I was doing it because Dr. Cox said, and Dr. Sveta directed me through it. And it was about 10 days. And I only know that because I had to go back and count and look at it because I really wanted to know what it was. But I wasn't paying attention that closely because I didn't know what to look for. But I remember her teacher suddenly called me. You don't get calls from teachers very often. She called me and just said, "What are you doing with Caroline? She got 52 words. She was just cheering. She just had to blast it out. She was so excited. She got 52 words. And to me, that was just my tipping point. Like, what do I have here? And of course, more research and more excitement. But my kids just started making progress. They still have disabilities. They still, they process slower still than others, but they're doing it. Like, they're processing, and it's only getting better and stronger all the time.
So I know they're on NERP2 and some Axio. What other things do you have them on?
So now we've got them on almost everything. I have them in NRF1 for the mitochondria because they have mitochondria dysfunction, but I think most of us do anyway.
Yeah.
So we have NRF1, and I got him on the NAD. And my Harrison, my 11-year-old now, he started talking when we put him on the NAD. I just remember that was huge.
How old was he when he started that?
11, probably about 3 years ago.
And so he was mostly nonverbal until the NAD.
It was nonverbal, yes. And then I just remember Dr. Sveta, she couldn't talk about one of the products that were coming out, but she called me and said, "I already have it ordered." The moment we were, at this conference, I was supposed to meet her there, we were putting it in them. She was so excited. And that was October. And by December, I remember the speech therapist was just going nuts. She was so excited. He started putting words. He was trying to put words together, but they weren't coming out. And it was a lot of stuttering. And so by December, now he doesn't stop talking. So it's just.
And tell me, have you seen any changes with the collagen?
Yes, I did not. For some reason, I did not think collagen was going to be that big of a deal.
Me too.
Nails, hair. I was kind of like, for reals? You wanted me to give collagen to my kids now? Like, I really don't care. Like, whatever. And I did it. The only reason I did it because I trusted the products. I trusted the science behind the team and the people that did stuff.
Yep.
And they told me to do it. And I know that sounds funny, but all these years, my kids were making progress. I was feeling better. So I just said, okay, 10 peptides, it's collagen. I don't know what peptides are, but I was going to do it. And I did. I bought it for my kids. And I remember asking you specifically, and I think I'm allowed to share this. I just said, affordable wise, because I'm, always shifting my brain, and I'm putting 6 people on this and their kids. Do I put them on a whole or a half? And I just remember you said, well, whole's always great, but half is better than what most people are getting. So I put them on a half. That was where I started because that's what I could do. And I was already, whatever. I put them on a half, and that was, I want to say June or July, around that time. And I don't know what you want me to share, but I remember in August specifically, this was a year ago. It wasn't even that long ago. So my kids, one thing that you have to understand, part of their processing is if they're eating or drinking, they can't stand at the same time. They have to sit because that's too many things to process, trying to balance, stand, drink. And so even Charlotte walking, and they still get around with crutches, put them in the corner and, get away from them a lot too. But, in big areas, we were actually at BYU University when this happened. So we were walking a big campus. So she had her crutches running around. And then all of a sudden, out of the middle of nowhere, she just stopped. And she's 19 now. All of a sudden, she just stopped and said, "Mom, look what I can do." And I was like, what? I wasn't ready for anything. And she stood there. And most of the time when she's walking with crutches or walking at all, she can't have a conversation at the same time. She has to stop and say hi, because again, that's more processing, you know. So she stops to have conversations, and all of a sudden she was walking, looked at me, and said her ABCs backwards. And I know that sounds so random and so weird, but it was so weird that I wasn't even almost excited. I was perplexed and concerned because she did it so fast. And my children don't process well. Their brains, if you saw their MRIs, and there's Harrison, their brains are deformed. Their cerebellum is shriveled. They're white and gray brain matter. Can you say hi, Harrison?
Hi.
To Dr. Brett and to everyone else.
You're gonna be famous, man.
Yeah.
You already are in my book.
He just got home from school. We're
We're,
excited.
we're glad they found you.
Yeah. So he gets home now and he runs off outside and gets a hammer and likes to go build. So if I can't find him, he's usually
like his
somewhere
dad.
working outside. Yep. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Charlotte said her ABCs backwards, and if anybody wants to hear that, I should have her do it.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
It
So
is,
I
and
never,
he never left a letter out. It's so fast. Obviously, our brains process, but it's really fast. It
yeah, my
doesn't
brain
even-
didn't keep up when she did it. I'm like, holy smokes.
Yeah, so I actually called doctors afraid. I wasn't cheering. I was actually afraid at first, really confused. And I called her neurologist, and he's like, well, what did you give her? And then I realized, well, collagen,
Yeah.
right? And so then he started, and he loves what we're doing. Like, he took our kids off Ritalin and Adderall and had him do the Axio because he saw better on that instead. So he was actually excited about the collagen and started explaining to me, and I still don't understand the science, but how the blood vessels in between have collagen and what is this doing? And so we actually got MRIs. I don't have the results yet, but he actually ordered MRIs 3 weeks ago. Because he
Excited
wants
to see him.
what's happening. Yeah.
So what I want to do here, Anna, and like your story is phenomenal. What I mean by that is that it's normal. Like it's normal. It's what moms I think go through. It's like they're willing to do whatever they can at whatever sacrifice they have to make to give their children the best quality of life. And usually it's who they think of themselves last. Okay. And so I love the reality of your story. You had no expectations for yourself. You had really not a lot of expectations for your children that you didn't really know. But you started learning and you put the effort in to learn. So what I want to do is try to help all you guys understand a little bit of what activation is, why we saw the changes that she did in that. I'm going to show you a few slides, but I'm going to go through these quick. It's not designed to be a science thing, but I want people to have a little perspective of why this might be beneficial for you. Because one of the things that I've learned over the last however many years of my life, I've been in practice, 20 plus years, is that can you let me see if I did this right here. All right. Let me know if you can see it, Anna, okay, when I pop it up.
And while you're bringing that up, I guess I just wanted to share what I learned about collagen just from my own research and understanding, is that it's not just for the hair and nails and skin. I learned that day when she did that, and that the neurologist at St. Joseph Hospital called me out and said she's doing brain tricks. Yeah. And so anyway,
to me, not even close. So by the time I show you guys this, it'll make a lot more sense. So most of the people have not heard this term, what we call biohacking or activation, right? And so it's really important. I want you to know, you understand, like right now, how you feel today, your level of vibrancy and energy and focus and concentration and quality of sleep is directly proportionate to the health of your individual cells that form your organs, glands, and systems. So the health of the cells is directly proportionate to how well those cells make energy, how well those cells clean up, how well those cells communicate and coordinate activity. That's exactly what happened. Now, the process we call of biohacking, which is activating the body's natural processes. And the term we use in nutrigenomics, for instance, like in your case, Anna, obviously there's some genetics there involved that were certain. So genes just code for a process. So think of it as like a house plan, and those house plans determine what house you build. So if some people have a house that's maybe got some quirks in it, you're gonna see that in the functionality. It may be a door that's not opening well, or in your case, like what happened with your joints and ligaments. And it just happened from the time you were young, right? But once you activated your body's ability to perform better, the functionality of those systems improved. Okay, so I want you guys to know this. If we fix this cell, that's how you get well. So think about improving the cell function. All right. And we're going to work on energy, vibrancy, communication, repair, and cleanup. Like that's the foundation. So think about a relationship, right? It's got to have communication. So in your cells, it has to be able to make energy. It has to be able to repair and clean up. It has to communicate. If it doesn't, it's a sick cell. A sick cell becomes a sick human. Okay. So I like to think of it this way, and we'll talk about the products that do that. So with LifeVantage, they make products that's specific to activate systems, not just to change symptoms. Right? Most of the supplements people think about out there is like, hey, I need vitamin A or vitamin C. That's a supplement. That's like giving your body a fish versus teaching your body how to fish. All right. So we're going to go through this process here. How can we work on more energy production, a better cleanup department, better cell communication, and that repair really relates to communication, bringing materials, and the delivery of supply chain. Okay. So this is your cell. Now, all of our cells have these different things. Think of it as a community. They have to work together. This part known as the nucleus, that's what the DNA material is. That's what the blueprint is. The blueprint just tells you what to build. These, there's other places in there, like these guys in the mitochondria, they produce your energy. So without them making your money or your energy, your nucleus can't give the blueprint to, these little ribosome things and what's called the rough endoplasmic reticulum to actually make the proteins to make you. Like, you don't have to worry about all that. Just know these guys all have to work together. So think of it like this. This cell is just like a community. It keeps certain things in and out that are supposed to be there. It transports things to places it's supposed to get and gets rid of crap that's not supposed to be there. So in your case, Anna, with how you felt originally, your community was working the best it could to process and deal with life, but it just wasn't doing it well. So you hurt really, really bad. You still did what you could, but as you began to activating what's known as the NRF2 pathway, which really is the sanitation department and the cleanup department, repair department, all of a sudden you were doing more than you were doing before. All right. So let me show you a couple of pictures of what that looks like. Okay. So this is just all the cells, that, but here's the foundational job of the cell. It has to make energy, has to make proteins, has to make more cells. Like that's the job of the cell. Okay. So this science, if you haven't heard about it, and this is your first go, this is how important it is for you to know this. Because like with you, Anna, it was based on prayer and your husband's hearing something. So if you're out there praying for an answer, this can be a solution to the answers you've been praying for. But understand you might have to do a little homework to validate it, but you don't need to just go to Joe Blow down the street or your friend in the basement to ask his opinion. This science known as NRF2 has been validated by Mayo Clinic, by Washington State universities, by American Heart Association, by huge organizations out there that look at science. And you can go to that place called PubMed.gov to look it up. But the science of NRF2 had been said by Washington State, they will become the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. So that was in 2015. We're in 2023. So if you haven't heard about this, it's not because it's not out there, it's just you haven't been exposed to it yet. So whoever invited you to this, thank them, okay? So foundationally speaking, what most of us do is we try to supplement deficiencies, which we eat a good diet. So we know, hey, if we eat our fruits and vegetables, that's important to do. So from perspective, when you get sick, grandma says, take a vitamin C, right? We don't want to be sick. So I want you to give you an idea of what that looks like. So you would have to have 120 capsules of a vitamin C or 400 oranges a day to equal what one pill of Protandim will do. Because it turns on your body's ability to make the enzymes versus just taking them. And the big part is it happens inside your cell where the repair has to happen. When you take a vitamin C or a broccoli or a cauliflower or whatever else, that stuff has to get inside your cells to do the job. So when you're activating these internal processes to turn on these energy producing part of your cell known as enzymes, it allows your body to repair 40% faster in 30 days. That's the NRF2. Okay. So think of that, the repair. So this is what it is. 5 natural ingredients combined together in a very specific ratio. And if you want to think about it, so it's validated by the National Institute of Aging, the extended lifespan. So if you want to think about aging in this sense, aging is a loss of function. So when you look at the skin and it ages, it looks older, right? So when you have an organ or gland or tissue that's aging, it's losing function. So if that's your energy producing part of your cell known as the mitochondria, it's aging, so it's become less efficient. So think about efficiency. Okay, activation and efficiency would be kind of a similar term you could use. So this is Protandim NRF2. its main claim to fame is what it does. It reduces that oxidative stress process by 40% in 30 days. It does that by turning on the genes of the body. This is a very new concept for most people, is turning on the natural genes of the body. So for instance, Anna had these genes in her. They were working less efficient than mine were in a normal process. So her children, those genes are the genes that it codes for to help in repair were working less efficient. Let's just say mine were working at 90%, her were working at 40%, her kid were working at 20%. When you turn on the right genes, the body can maximize the production of that process, the efficiency. All right, but you don't have to. So instead of just guessing, like instead of just a peach leaf, right? And there's how many different types of peach leaves? Like we're talking about, these products have been shown and validated to activate the genes of mammals. So if you're a mammal and you activate these genes that encode for health, and you do it long enough and give your body the chance to repair, because it's going to fix what it wants to first, or excuse me, what it has to first and what it wants to later. So in your case, I just wanted energy. Well, I wanted the pain to go away. Well, no, I'm going to give you energy first. It's going to fix what's critical. So it's more critical for the mitochondria to be alive, okay, and they get energy, than it is for you not to hurt.
Mhm.
Right? So that was the process that Anna felt. And in the children, it's very, very similar. Then there's NRF1. This activates the mitochondria. That's the energy production. So the NRF2 was the repair. The NRF1 is the energy production. And the NAD, that's a product that turned on the communication of the cell. So I want to give you a perspective. So people always said, well, which one's most important? Well, they're all important. But what happens when you put them together? So this company focuses on activating the normal and natural healing processes that are inside the cells from a gene level and finding out how they work together. This slide just represents that. When you look at this process here, this is the process that controls the what's called a healthy inflammatory response, which you need inflammation, but you don't want too much, makes you hurt, right? Breaks down tissue. When you just did the NRF2, that enzyme was upregulated at 51%. When you combine it with the NAD and the NRF1, it went to 148%. So that's why when you watch your own children and watch your own effect, is that your body starts going through this process of one system build upon another system, build upon another system. So I tell people to keep it super simple. This right here is your repair. This is your energy production. This is the cell communication. Combined together is you have that tri-synergizer effect. Okay. Let me kind of now, how does the collagen fit into that mix? Okay, this is where it's important. So you think about those internal processes. Think about your house or your community you live in. So imagine living where you live without power, no electricity. That's like losing your mitochondria, right? And nobody really wants to live in, no matter where they are, without power. Okay, well, imagine living without a toilet, without a sanitation department, or a very inefficient one. That's like losing NRF2. Right, that's losing NRF2. What if you lost all communication, cell phones, Wi-Fi, internet, all the communication that were known to communicate? That's like losing NAD. Okay, but here's the fascinating thing about collagen. Like we think about these cells and they do their job. How do all the cells talk to each other? Like how do they deliver things from outside the cell inside the cell? Like how do they get rid of the crap? That's all collagen. All the connectivity between cells, whether it's a blood vessel, a nerve cell, the gastrointestinal tract, guys, it's all these. These are all collagen fibers that connect all the cells together. That's why the collagen, we see the changes that we see, the connectivity, whether it's a nerve, like in your daughter's case, she started communicating better because the communication was more clear through that communication chain. Whether it's talking, and that can also tie in, and they call that the extracellular matrix, and there's an intracellular matrix, which is that's the connectivity between the organelles inside the cell, these guys that talk together like mitochondria, and then the outside of the cell was talk to other cells. So it enhances the communication of the whole system. Okay, this is kind of a slide representing that. So extracellular matrix is a network of proteins, right, that fills the spaces. It supports the cells in the tissue. Okay, they hold the cells in place, right? Like cartilage, tendon, ligaments, okay, and basement membrane, that's your skin. It controlling communication between cells through signal molecules. So the communication, it segregates tissue and regulating cell process. So it works with adhesion and migration, proliferation. So it helps the cells like grow and development, and provides a foundation for cell growth and development. So without collagen, we would be a blob. Okay, and that's the liquid collagen the activating ingredient in the collagen. So it's not just collagen, it's activated collagen. Activating collagen is collagen that actually turn the gene to produce collagen. Let me come back to that slide. And what we know is when we combine that collagen, the activated collagen, within 8 weeks, it doubles the collagen. Okay, you combine that with Nrf2, and it's even better. So that's why you're seeing the results you're seeing with your kids. Just from perspective of what that can look like is this. So the thing about the skin, which is cool in the collagen, you can see it. Like you don't always, like with your daughter, like you don't see these verbal skills change, but you hear them. You don't see them with the skin. You see aging in the skin or loss of function, sagging, whatever else. This is the difference between people when we're not on activated collagen and what happens with activated collagen over time. That other slide that I passed by, that's the representation of the axial. So think about activating brain. And I love what you said earlier, is like with your child or they're trying to learn the words. So I call it Groundhog Day. You're doing the same thing again and again, but it's not sticking.
Right.
Okay. That had to do with the cell's ability to learn, retain, remember, and recall. And so Axio was the product that was designed to help with that. Right. That's why when you're talking about if you're tired and you have a tired brain, the Axio is phenomenal. Right. And it has that benefit. And I don't know if that's why so many people drink energy drinks and things like that, because they're looking for brilliant energy, but it's really mental energy they're struggling with. So what I want you guys to get from what we talked about today is Anna's story is not unique. Right. And I think we're living in a world full of deactivated people, or less than active people than they could be when it comes to what they're doing nutraceutically that could vastly impact that. And because of that, they're living less of the quality of life that they could. And what would your life look like if you had more energy? What would your life feel like if your thought processes were clearer? Right. So your level of health and vibrancy are directly proportionate to the level of activation that you're currently giving your cells right now. And I'm so grateful for what you brought to this and the stories you shared about what you personally have experienced and that process of a mom of going through, right, of the research and the detail and you don't have to do what Anna has done, guys, if you don't want to. But once you get from her, she's done the homework, she's done the research, the company has it there. But also she stuck with the process to where she got to see the benefits, right? Had she stopped anywhere along the way, like it was herself personally, her children would, still have some massive struggle. They would not be performing or doing anything they did, not because the capacity wasn't there. And I think we all tell this to our kids is that your capacity is far greater than you realize. Mm-hmm. But your capacity has to do with the level of activation you put inside your bodies and your cells and what you believe is possible. So do your homework, do your research, but put it in your body consistently and give your body the opportunity to be as it can be. So any last minute things you want to say, Anna?
I like what you're saying, get it in your body. So people are like, people want to keep researching it to death. And I finally just had to make that decision to just try it and to see my own science experiment and see what could happen. And so, and I like that you brought up, I didn't mean to, on the peach leaves and things, it's opened my mind is what it said. So yeah, I try all different things too now because this whole world has opened my mind because I want to learn more and more how to activate my body. So
nothing changes. Yeah, nothing changes till something changes. And Anna, you're a true testament of doing the work and also the struggle. And just the heart desire you have to give with other people. So guys, whoever, invited you to watch this Wednesday Wellness, please pass it along, share it with other people, and then get your own activation story started. So thanks again, Anna.
If you don't mind me sharing, I know you got to go, sorry, yeah. But being consistent. So I really like what you said because it's easy to quit. Like when I didn't have my shoulders hurt anymore, I thought I would just quit it. Right. And so being consistent, I just think that's really important to understand that when we're making that shift, the activating our bodies doesn't stop. Like if we sleep really well for a weekend, we still sleep the rest of the week. We don't just say, oh, I've slept a weekend, I feel good, I don't need to sleep ever again. And I think that's really important to understand that when you say consistency, we continue to eat good food, we continue to take our activators, we continue to get good sleep. We don't just quit because now we feel better. we keep doing that because we feel better and we want to keep feeling better. Does that make sense? I just think that's really important when you keyed in on the
Brought that up
consistency.
because I tell you, bills never go away, guys.
Mhm.
Right. So if you're using your body, you're creating more bills. And so you got to constantly give your body what it needs to do, what it needs to do. And so that's 100% right. Consistency is key. And I always tell people the first thing to show, the last thing to show up and the first thing to go is pain. I'll say it again. The last thing to show up is pain, the first thing to go. So pain is very different than functionality.
Mhm.
Right. So it's critical to know, like, you don't want to just, you want, decreased pain, more flexibility and more strength, and more clarity. And it's magical. So Anna, thanks so much for taking the time, and I'm actually grateful that your kids came in. You could kind of, share that experience with them.
Yes, that was awesome. Appreciate you. Thank you. Have a
You're
good
welcome.
night.
You too.